Welcome to the Grace Story Podcast, where inspiring stories are brought to life. This podcast is made possible by Grace College and Seminary, located on the shores of Winona Lake in the great state of Indiana. I'm your host, Dr. Drew Flam. This is the Grace Story Podcast. This week, I have with me Martin Schiele. Martin's from Hammond, Indiana. He's a junior business management and MBA student here at Grace College. Also plays on the basketball team and on the track and field team. So, Marty, welcome to the Grace Story Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So, what do you do with all your free time, having two majors and playing two sports? I mean, you just must be sitting around in your dorm room with nothing to do.
Man, probably reading a book. I'm reading this book called Crushing by T.D. Jakes, so I've been really diving into that book, or either reading the Bible, trying to just get some word in while I can. So I'm not really a big game person like I used to be, but I find my time just either taking a nap or reading.
So you do have a little bit of free time with all you got going on.
Some.
Well, one of the things you do is you give basketball lessons to my three kids, and you just did that yesterday. So any highlights from basketball with the Flam kids yesterday?
Let's see. Okay, of course you got Bennett. Bennett, the little one. He just ran off in the middle of the drill and just went and just did his own thing and said, I want to do this own drill, Marty. I'm just like, okay. But, yeah, Bennett, he is just hilarious.
He tries to be the funny one. Sometimes he takes it a little bit too far. Yeah. That's a great ministry opportunity you have with my three kids, to say the least. So you're from Hammond, Indiana, and one of the things that's really crucial to your story is an accident that happened in high school, crucial to getting you to here to Grace College, but also just in your spiritual journey. Tell us a little bit about that.
We was on our way to semi-state for basketball, which is the game before the state finals. If we would have won that game, we would have made it to the state finals. And we was on our way to Lafayette Jefferson High School, and when we was, on our way there, I was just about to take a nap. I had leaned my head over on the seat, and then next thing you know, you just feel a bump. It just felt like you hit like a pothole, and but like a huge pothole. And then when I got up out my seat, I saw that we were facing the grass. Now, mind you, the highway just had the lanes, then the grass, and the lane going back south. Actually north. So when I saw that the front of the bus was facing the grass, I knew something was wrong. So then my teammate, Marcus, was like, everybody brace yourselves. And mind you, we didn't have any seatbelts on or anything. So the only brace that I really had was the chair in front of me. So all I can remember was just, the bus flipping. And I remember my body hitting the top of the ceiling. Then after that, I pretty much kind of like just blacked out. And I just remember, after the bus ended up falling into a ditch, I just remember just not being able to breathe because I had maybe about 8 people on top of me because I was like caddy corner in the corner of the bus. So I just remember kind of like just screaming for help and for air, but I couldn't because, there was so many people on top of me. So my knee wasn't the problem at first. It was more so me trying to get some air because I couldn't breathe. So they ended up, using almost like the jaws life to kind of like get me out of the bus because I was the last one off the bus. And then come to find out I couldn't walk, and then that's how I found out that, I tore my ACL. So
wow. So you talk about how that was, one of those kind of life flashes before your mind moments and really got you thinking about your spiritual journey.
Definitely. Yeah, I could just remember, before I braced myself, for the slightest second I kind of like questioned, like God, why is this about to happen? Like it was just like a slight thought, and then when the bus began to flip, and after my body hit, the top of the ceiling, all I could remember just thinking to myself was like, God, I'm sorry for everything I've done because I thought that that was it for me. And I didn't want to, of course, go to hell. So I wanted to have a clean slate. And it's crazy how you think about, stuff like that. And you imagine, what would you do in a midlife crisis or, when your life is on the line. But that was literally the first thing that came to my head was, I want to be right with God before I pass away. Because I thought that was it for me. Just because the likes of you surviving a bus flipping 3 times is slim to none. So that was the biggest thing, was my faith in the midst of that crisis. So I think that's what got me through. So.
And you said no one was killed on that bus crash. In fact, you got the most significant of anyone on that bus. I mean, various lacerations and all sorts of stuff, including the ACL, which put a dent into your basketball and track career for a little bit. So it wasn't just a moment. You then had to deal with that suffering for a while. Tell me how you process that, and even then coming to Grace and how that led you here.
Yeah, I mean, I took a lot of losses because of those injuries. But I think the biggest thing was, like my leg. At first, it was a hyperextension. That's what they thought it was until I got an MRI. So that's why I was able to play that game, because if I would tell my ACL.
So you guys had that game a couple days later or something?
It was 3 days later after the accident. Yeah, 3 days later after the accident. Because everything was based off of us. Like, they had to stop the other games because we didn't get to play that day. So they waited till Tuesday. And we tried to press the wait another Saturday, but just because ISSAA, they got the ways they want to do things, we couldn't try to further.
And you played.
I played the whole game. I probably sat out for 15 seconds that whole game. So yeah, it was tough. It was a lot of pain.
And then you went and got MRIs, and that's when it was confirmed.
It was confirmed that I had a torn ACL, and then I bruised my meniscus quite a bit, and then my kneecap was slightly dislocated a little bit. So yeah, I had to get that all fixed up, and it was tough.
And you said a lot of the scholarship offers that you had disappeared, but Coach K stuck with you, and even came alongside you in a spiritual way. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so in high school, it started, I want to say, sophomore year. Grace reached out to me, Coach Greg Miller, just kept me under his radar for quite some time. And, I kind of pushed it to the side because at the time my recruitment was pretty high in high school. I probably had mid-majors, Division IIs. So I kind of just pushed NAIA to the side a little bit. And then coming up my senior year, I did not know that Grace was still recruiting me, and they actually was at the game. And Coach K called me one night my senior year, and we talked on the phone. He called me, I'll never forget, 10:45 at night, and we talked for 2.5 hours. Now, mind you, I have to get up for class in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. But man, I'll never forget it because I was playing the game, and I didn't pay no mind. I'm it's just another coach just trying to call, because the recruiting process is pretty tough. It's really tough.
I wouldn't know, but it sounds like it.
Yeah, it's tough. You got hundreds of coaches calling you, trying to recruit you and say the same thing over and over. But the only thing that stuck out to me about Coach K was that he was the only coach out of all the hundreds of coaches that reached out to me. He was the only one that prayed for me. And this was after the accident when I had my surgery. He just prayed that God's will be done for my life and the decisions that I made. And then, of course, President Cato took my family and I out to dinner. And that was because of Dan Gordon. He was the one that told him, hey, you need to reach out to the Martin family. And, I told Dan I was going to give him a shout out for that one too. But, he reached out to Kate and told him, hey, reach out to Martin's family. Took us out to dinner. And then this was before I even signed. It just because they just knew about my story. Then President Kate, he prayed over my family in front of everybody in the restaurant. And that was a big deal to us because, our faith is what we take, pride in. So, because of Coach K's persistence and offering me a scholarship, even though I knew I wouldn't play my freshman year, that was a big deal because I think he said in all his years of coaching, 42 years of coaching, he's never offered a player a scholarship knowing that he wouldn't play his freshman year. So.
Wow. So you get to Grace, and tell us about that first year. You're not playing, but you're here. How was that for you mentally to go through the season and not be able to be a part of it?
Definitely. It was tough. Just being the fact that I love the game of basketball. So of course, just watching the guys work out, and practice, knowing that I couldn't practice to the fullest extent that I could be. So that was one of the problems I was facing too. Was I wasn't at my fullest potential, but I was still trying to prove myself to show that I can play. And then it got to a point in the season around January, I could start, doing contact. So, of course, I wanted to just prove to the coaches, I belong here, And that's when my happiness started to come back again. But then again, you you can practice, but you're still not gonna play in the game. So I was still frustrated with myself. 'Cause I'm just like, man, like I really want to get on the court and play the game because that's what you practice for. But I wouldn't say that that was the easiest process because I went through like a slight depression, maybe around like November or so, I would say. Just because I was still rehabbing my leg, and it was just tough just watching a lot of my friends back home. They're at their schools playing, and they're getting scholarships left and right, and I'm still here just laying in my bed trying to rehab my leg. So I just saw how other people were excelling in what they were doing, but meanwhile I'm still over here trying to get my leg situated. So it was tough, but I mean I'm thankful for that because I needed that. That really humbled me. So.
One of the things you said is that that freshman year you really became a shooter because when I think of Marty Schiele, I think shooter, and you said, well, no, not really. In high school, I was more of a take it to the hoop kind of guy, but when I couldn't do that for a while, you sort of reframed your game, right?
Yeah. I think that accident and the injury really shaped my game because. I mean, in high school, like I said, I was always known as a driver. People always knew the back and, like just let them try to drive or let them try to shoot. But I think, just watching practice all the time, I would just get jumpers up. The managers would just catch my rebounds. And after a while, I just started to get a feel for it. And I started to love shooting jump shots because I didn't like shooting jump shots in high school at all and growing up. But I knew I had to develop a jump shot just being the fact that I'm a smaller guard going against, guys that's in the lane that's 6'8" and up. It's tough trying to get a shot off. So I knew I had to develop a jump shot. And Coach K told me and Coach Moore told me, like, you got to get a better jump shot. So I just stayed with it. I stuck with it. And next I just became a shooter. So.
And then you also ran track and field. Your freshman year obviously sat out, and we didn't even have a track here at Grace that year. So that really picked up then your sophomore year as well, right?
Definitely. Yeah, it was tough my freshman year running just because I still wasn't like 100%. I was probably 85%.
So you were still competing though.
Yeah, I was still competing,
Wow.
but I wasn't even my knee was still swollen from the surgery months past, and that was maybe 7 to 8 months after I had surgery. So I was still trying to tough it out, with track, and it was days I had to sit out, just because my knee had started bothering me, or if it started raining outside. My knee would swell up, so I wasn't even at my fullest potential my freshman year, but I still stuck it through.
And have had some success on the track as well. In fact, you were just saying you won a meet last Saturday in hail, right? Or sleet at least, right? Is that what it was like?
Yeah, it was hail, sleet, rain, everything that Mother Nature can give, honestly. But
so one of the things, you're an athlete, and you can talk sports and talk basketball, talk track, but knowing your spiritual life is way more important to you than anything you do on the court. Tell me how you've grown spiritually here at Grace.
It started more so my freshman year, around the time when I started to run track. Just because like the first part of my year, I was so frustrated because I couldn't, play like I wanted to and, be around the guys as much as I wanted to. So in the midst of me being alone and by myself when my guys would be, at a tournament, back home, around the country or something like that, I had a lot of alone time. And that alone time, I spent a lot of time just in prayer, doing a lot of reading. And as I began to pray and read, I started to have this peace to know that, at the end of the day, like, it's in God's hands what's going on in my life. And lately I've been, teaching people about, the process of waiting on God. And I think that's one of the most important aspects of our faith because it can shape us and form us in the midst of our wait. So I knew for me that waiting process was necessary because I idolized and I put things over God before that accident, or should I say even freshman year. I idolized basketball. I idolized different friendships. I idolized even video games, just anything before God. I spent my time doing things I knew I shouldn't be doing. So that's why I'm a big advocate about, my faith, just because I know I've been in plenty of situations where the worst things could have happened, but because of God's grace and His mercy, I'm still here, alive and well. And because I told God and I promised God after that accident that I will make his name great through my lifestyle and what I can do for my life and what he's done with my life. So that's why I am the way I am, because I've been through a lot of things in my life where, I could have ended my life, or stuff that this world has to bring could have ended me, but God's grace kept me here. So.
And your sophomore year, you can be a little bit of an introverted guy. You like time to yourself, but you were kind of thrust into the spotlight because of some racial things that had happened on campus, and you embraced that role, and through it really found your voice in many ways, is how you put it. Tell me a little bit about that and the calling you found.
Yeah, definitely. Well, of course, the incident happened, and I became when I heard about it. At first, it was 6:00 in the morning when my friend called me. I was just so frustrated because that was the last thing that I would expect from that incident. But when I spoke out about it, a lot of people thought it was just me, but my father played a big role into why I said what I said on Facebook and made that video. He brought me to the story of Esther, and how Mordecai said, like, you're prepared for such a time as this. And for the longest, before that incident happened last year, I was still trying to find my purpose and my calling. Like, why did God send me here to Grace College? And it took a year and a couple months to really find that out. So because of that incident, that's how I found my purpose, as far as speaking out about things that people wouldn't want to speak out about, because they might be scared of what other people might think. But I'm a big advocate on change, and if you want to promote change, you have to do things outside your comfort zone. And I knew I had to do that, because I knew it was going to be people that was going to not like what I had to say. But I knew I didn't want to be a person that leave this school and then talk about what needs to be done. Rather, I can be here and try to promote the change because I'm still here. So that's how I found my purpose and my calling, was through that incident. And I'm thankful that happened, because it opened up a lot of doors for the school too, for us as students to grow, and of course for myself spiritually to grow too. So, like you said, I was very introverted before that, but now, I'm probably the most extroverted I've ever been in my life, just because, it forced me to speak out in public places. So because of that, that's how I kind of like just found my purpose and my calling.
So going forward, and by the way, thank you so much for the way you handled yourself through all of that. Working with PR at Grace, I got a front row seat to see you in high pressure situations filter your words through a biblical worldview and through scripture and speak truth. And it was amazing to see. I mean, it was really obvious that it was the Holy Spirit working through you. And I'm so thankful you were willing to step up. So you mentioned that calling, and you're a business management major. You're going to have your MBA too. Sort of like, what do you see down the road for Marty Schiele?
So I've always
you can always do basketball lessons for my kids if you.
I'm down.
You're
for
about
it.
No, I think you're ready to retire from that one here.
Yeah, it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. But I've always been a business-minded person growing up, just because I've always had a niching for money. Like, I always wanted some money. So just growing up, I remember my mom, she always said, "How you always ask for money?" And I'm just like, "Cause I want to do something." But I honestly, I have a couple of internships lined up back home that requires me to have a business type background. So I've been put in positions too, even in high school, where like business was the only thing that like I had. So I knew that was God telling me, like, maybe you need to go into the business realm. But being the fact that like I love to preach too, it's like I wanted to like do like the biblical studies here too, but it was hard to do that when I had the MBA, because just this way the courses is set up. So fast forward to maybe 10 years from now, I would want a business job, a business opportunity where I'm doing like project management, because I love like just doing projects and stuff like that, and working with people. But also I want to do ministry on the side too, rather if that's even in the pulpit or even outside, just helping the homeless or something like that, like whatever ministry is. Because ministry is all it means is serve. So whatever way I can serve people, that's what I want to do, because that's just my heart. I like to help people and see them, grow as a person and as an individual. So
Awesome. Well, one of the things we like to do on this podcast sometimes is just ask random questions, just to get to know somebody a little bit better and a little bit differently. So I'm going to ask some random questions. I haven't prepped you for this.
Wow.
Just to give your best answer, okay? So you get to have dinner with one person that is not Jesus. And it can be somebody in history or somebody current, but you get to have dinner with one person. Who is it and why?
Oh, wow. That would probably be, man, that's a tough question. I would have to go with Stephen, the martyr. Yeah, in Acts. Because I wanted to know, like, how did you just endure what you went through, like getting stoned, but still kept the faith? Because that's one of my favorite characters in the Bible is Stephen. And I'm just like, dude, like, how did you do that? Like, he was a man of great faith, and he was filled with the Holy Spirit. And I think, like, that's one of the biggest things that I try to emphasize in my life is, like, how do you become so full of the Holy Spirit where he can just guide and direct you in so many different ways and avenues? So I'll probably have a full course meal with him and just get to know him. So
what's on that menu with Steven, and what are some of the favorite foods of Marty?
Well, everybody know I love fried chicken, so that's like my biggest thing. But steak, gotta have some steak.
So this is like a full meat meal. Okay.
Yes, with some potatoes.
Oh, okay.
Some mashed potatoes. So.
All right. So a book that you highly recommend or that you would give to other people. You say this is the one book besides the Bible that you would say, hey, you got to read this.
It's the book that I'm reading right now. It's called Crushing by T.D. Jakes. And it talks about like going through the weight and what it means, how significant the weight is, and knowing the worth of waiting on God and what you have to go through. And then he often emphasizes too, a lot of times people think that, the enemy always allows bad things to happen, but God does too, because if you look in the story of Job, God allowed him to go through what he went through. So sometimes we always try to, think that it's the enemy, but it's just God trying to form us and shape us in the midst of us going through, trials and tribulations in our lives. So.
All right, so Crossroads League tournament or league play or tournament play. What's like the one team that you like really get up for and you're hyped to play and to beat?
Indiana Wesleyan, hands down. Indiana Wesleyan. I've always had a thing for Indiana Wesleyan. Like there's just something about that team. I'm just like, I just want to beat them. So next year, man, I'm probably going to have the best game of my life against Indiana Wesleyan.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so you run multiple track events. What's your favorite event to run and why? 200-meter
dash, hands down. Because a lot of people think since I'm short, I'm super, super quick and my speed come in fast, but I run like I'm like 6'6", like Usain Bolt. My speed comes in later in the race. So the 100 is too short for me, even though I'm pretty decent at it, but the 200, I got more than enough time to kind of like pick up my speed and maintain it and, catch a couple people if I can. So.
And you come from a family of track stars, right? Your dad, Division I track athlete, uncles, all sorts of track going on in the Schiele family.
Yes, a lot.
Well, thanks for being here on the Grace Story podcast. We really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for what you've meant to our campus. And of course, you can download this wherever you might find it, on Google Play or on iTunes. Make sure you like it and share it. Get others the opportunity to hear from Marty and the other guests we've been able to have on here, and live your best Grace story today.